G'day guys, and welcome to another YouTube lesson. Today we're going to take a look at two main syllabus dot points. They are monitoring and evaluations, which includes looking at sales, looking at budgets and a business's profitability and profit. And we're also going to look at a second syllabus dot point, which is taking corrective action. Let's get into it. So monitoring and evaluations. What's that? An effective business plan will include a system in which to monitor and to evaluate how well the business is traveling, how well a business is doing. Monitoring, it's important that we have good quality definitions. Monitoring is the checking or continuous recording of the performance of the business. I'll say it again. Monitoring is the checking or continuous recording of the performance of the business. The business will need to use this information to evaluate, look at whether the business is doing a good or bad job, and meeting its objectives and goals set out in the business plan. Three of the best ways to monitor how a business is traveling is through sales reports. That's why we see sales in the syllabus, but essentially sales reports, through a budget, and also through profit analysis, looking at different types of profit a business can make and analysing those. So today's lesson will take a look, for the first part anyhow, at sales reports, budgeting, and profit analysis. Sales reports provide managers with statistical and financial information so that they can effectively monitor and then evaluate the sales of the business's product. It's very important for a business's owner, as one of the key goals in a business plan is to improve a business sales. Greater sales tends to lead to greater profit and other beneficial things for a business. A sales report can allow a business to track potential sales compared to what they thought would happen, those potential sales, compared to actual realized sales. They can do it on individual products and do likewise for individual sales representatives. So you can have a look at, you've got 3 salespeople within a particular store, person A, B, and C. Which of these sales representatives did you expect? What sales figures did you expect from each, based on previous years perhaps? And then how did they track in real terms, actual sales figures for those 3? And one that's consistently performing poorly, you can cancel, see what's happening, retrain, or potentially give them the old boot them and so on if needs be, to hire someone who's more effective. Likewise, you can look at, maybe you've got 5 different products, that's your product mix, and you might be able to identify 2 products that are performing poorly. One that's maybe fixable or salvageable, and one that really consistently for the last 6-7 years has been a poor performer, and you can delete that from your product line. Budgets and budgeting, that's the next way to be able to monitor and evaluate in a business. Budgets are a great way to monitor, evaluate, and check how well a business is meeting its objectives set out in a business plan. It's very important to set up a forecasting budget. That's a budget that tries to predict how much money will be earned and also tries to predict how much money will be spent. It's in the initial business plan. Then the owner should compare this projected budget or forecasted budget, same thing, to the actual budget outcome to see whether there was better or worse, and also they can see the actual budget. They can do a future for the next year's projected budget also. Businesses should then evaluate whether it's done an effective job or a poor job based on this information and make changes. Now, profit analysis, or profit as it says in the syllabus. There are 3 types of profit a business will be interested in. Probably more, but 3 key ones we delve into in the business studies course. The first one is gross profit. See if you can remember what gross profit was. We did enough of those income statements. You should remember. What is it? How do we find gross profit? That's sales minus COGS, your cost of goods sold. A second type of profit, gross profit, what might that be? See if you can remember. Net profit. If you said that, well done. That's gross profit minus all those other expenses, such as the administration, the financial expenses, and so on. And that's the more realistic profit. The profit the business will use to calculate their tax that they'll pay to federal government. And there's another profit we tend to use in business studies to ascertain, to see how well a business is going. In Year 12, we do our comparative ratio analysis, and that is the return on owner's equity, ROOE, or ROE, depending on which textbook. Now, this is your net profit divided by your total equity on your balance sheet. So your net or retained profit divided by the total equity, which is usually things like capital and the net profit together. This gives an investor a good idea of how much they've invested in the business and what return they're going to get on their investment. Now, as part of the business plan, the owner would have to set goals around profit they wish to obtain. It's therefore vital that a business would closely monitor and evaluate, think is it good or bad, using a criteria, whether the profit has been below projections, on par with it, or exceeded the projections in the business plan. And a business can do this by looking at its net profit ratios, its gross profit ratios, its return on owner's equity ratio, and looking at its break-even analysis too. All right, the last thing we're going to delve in today is taking corrective action. It's all good to have all of these things looked at and to analyze and evaluate it. It's essential. But if it's been good or okay or poor, especially if it's been poor, you need to take corrective action. It's the final stage in the business planning process. So in the early stages, goals were set. Then strategies were developed to try and achieve these goals. Results were monitored and evaluated, and this is all coming from our syllabus. This is taking a look at the planning process. The final stage is dealing with strategies that are not working as planned. If something's not working out, it's not working as what you thought would happen, i.e. there are too many workers in section A of a business, then corrective action may be needed to maybe retrain one of the workers into another department or section, or perhaps to retrench this worker. Now, students are constantly involved in comparing planned performances with actual realized performances. For example, if you plan to score 70% in a particular assessment task, some people, they'd be stoked if they got that, others would not be. But if you plan to score that, but you only receive 43%, then there's a mismatch, this mismatch between the planned and the actual realized performance. That means the students need to take some corrective action. Often they don't, that's the issue, but take some corrective action so that the next assessment task, hopefully they'll do better. Maybe they complete more homework, look at past students' modelled responses, do greater study notes and so on. This is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about taking corrective action. All right, guys, thanks for listening and see you next time.